Not
No,
yet.
sir.
All right.
We on now though.
Yeah, you're muted, Elijah.
We'll be starting any moment. Give me about 60 seconds and you can get going.
At least I had a chance to get a visual on my brothers.
There you go.
Some brothers' faces is funny looking, man. Might put a spirit on you. You better be careful.
That's
Look, Adriel. What kind of spirit is on my brother, huh, Adriel?
Man,
He has his face is like his face is like Flint. We've been drinking that Flint, Michigan water, man.
after working with these Edomite kids, bro, that doesn't look too bad.
Right.
right. You still handsome, huh?
They're a
Still
funny
handsome compared
bunch.
to
They are
Right,
a funny
Logan.
looking bunch.
Okay, all praises. I see you. All right. All praises, man. All praises, man. We're gonna get the show cracking and popping. All praises. Paraz is gonna be my reader, brothers. So you brothers enjoy the show. We about to get in just to the day assignment. We already on the YouTube. All praises, all praises. So shalom, Israel, most high in Christ bless. All you mighty men and you mighty sisters in this walk. Tonight we're going to touch on the day of Simon. The day of Simon. The day of Simon is a feast day, or not a high holy day, but a holy day that we celebrate as Israelites based upon our history and what our forefathers have been accomplished, and we recognize it for. This year, the day of Simon, let me get that date just to confirm it with the brothers and the people online. The day of Simon this year will be, hold on, where's it at? I just had it on my thing. So is it the 27th to the 28th? I don't want to be wrong. It is. Okay. All right. Yeah. So the day of Simon this year will be the 27th of May, which is, we're in our second month biblically, according to the Hebrew calendar. We started our second month, and it's in the second month where we will be celebrating the day of Simon. Okay, there you go. All praises, the brothers in the spirit. So there's the calendar to the brothers and sisters online. We already had our Passover. We had our second month new moon, and May 27th to the 28th is the day of Simon. So this is a little bit of history going into the day of Simon in regards of us keeping that feast day and celebrating that feast day. Thank you very much, Brother Ahijah. With that, we're going to start with Paraz, Romans 15:4. Let's get to that real quick.
The book of Romans, chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope.
All praises, all praises. The things that were written aforetime were written for our learning, so that we may have patience, and through comfort of the scriptures we may have hope. Because we're about to get into the history of the day of Simon to see how they had hope and how they were uplifted in the word of God. And that's why we go back to celebrate it, and that's why we go back to read about it, so that we too can spiritually be uplifted.
That's
okay, right. From there, Paraz, do me a favor and jump to Sirach chapter 44. Sirach chapter 44. And we're going to start at verse 1.
The book of Sirach, chapter 44. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us.
So the scripture says, let us praise famous men and our fathers that begot us. So Simon is famous man in Israel. The Maccabees family are a famous family in Israel that God used specifically to deal with the heathen, to get the temple and the sanctuary cleansed. So we're going to touch on a little bit of that as well. We'll go ahead and read down.
The Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning.
You see that? So the Lord brought great glory through them, the famous men, the fathers who begot us. The Lord gave glory to them. Read on.
Such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies.
You see that. You see that. So it says, such as did bear rule in their kingdom, because at the time we were of our Hasmonean dynasty, they had the Seleucid dynasty, which comes from the Greeks, and they were starting to come and overtake what we had established. And so these men that we're going to teach on, and Simon, who we're going to touch on, was a mighty man who bear rule during his time. Read on.
Leaders of the people by their counsels and by their knowledge of learning meet for the people, wise and eloquent in their instructions.
This is what everything we're reading about is Simon. Simon is going to fall right into this category. Read on.
Such as found out musical tunes and rejected verses in writing.
Read.
Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations.
You see that? Rich men living peaceable in their habitations. All that we're reading, you're going to see that it applies right to Simon, our forefather. Read on.
All these were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times.
You see that? All these famous men were honored in their generation. So that's why we keep the day of Simon. It is an honor to look at what our forefather Simon did, and for us to remember that and to hold it and keep it to this day. Read on.
There be of them that have left a name behind them, that their praises might be reported.
There you go. There be of them famous men that left a name behind. And that's why we're celebrating the day of Simon. So from there, P, do me a favor. Give me Daniel's chapter 11 real quick. And we're going to get the prophecy, because it said declaring prophecies and stuff. So give me Daniel's chapter 11, and we're going to see what was going on. Daniel's 11, we'll get straight to it. 11 and 30. Give me 31.
The book of Daniel, chapter 11 and verse 31. And arms shall stand on his part, and they shall pollute the sanctuary of strength, and shall take away the daily sacrifice, and they shall place the abomination that maketh desolate.
So this is Daniel prophesying that there will be a time to come where the temple would be desolated and become an abomination based upon what the heathen's going to do to it. So once we get into the history of the Maccabees brothers, that was prophesied from Daniel to all the way to the Maccabees brothers, and Simon is a part of that to help bring the temple back to what it needed to be. Read on, Keith.
Verse 32. And such as do wickedly against the covenant shall he corrupt by flatteries, but the people that do know their God shall be strong and do exploits.
You see that? But the people that knew their God shall be strong and do exploits. So they're not going to fall for what these heathens got going on. So what we're seeing is Daniel's prophesying this thing to come for the temple, and God had famous men in their times who would come and stand strong and not be corrupted by their flatteries. Read on.
Verse 33. And they that understand among the people shall instruct many, yet they shall fall by the sword, and by flame, and by captivity, and by spoil many days.
Read on.
Now, when they shall fall, they shall be holpen with a little help.
Now, when they fall, they shall be hoping with a little help. Go ahead.
But many shall cleave to them with flatteries.
But many shall cleave to them with flattery. So this is the prophecy that Daniel was talking about of the temple being destroyed. And so he said that there shall be helping with a little help. So we're now going to get to the little help. Go from there, Pete. Jump to First Maccabees chapter 1 and read Maccabees 1:1.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 1 and verse 1. And it happened after that Alexander, son of Philip the Macedonian, who came out of the land of Kittim, had smitten Darius, king of the Persians and Medes, and he reigned in his stead the first over Greece.
So this is the first over Greece. This is talking about the Grecians coming in to power and ruling. Read on.
And made many wars, and won many strongholds, and slew the kings of the earth.
Read on.
And went through the ends of the earth, and took spoils of many nations, insomuch that the earth was quiet before him. Whereupon he was exalted, and his heart was lifted up.
Okay. So now we're seeing that the Greeks come into rulership. Read on. Jump to verse 7, P.
Verse 7. So Alexander reigned 12 years and then died.
This is Alexander the Great, the Greek. So this is them after they took the power ship from the Persians and Medes. Now the Greeks have come into rulership, and now they're starting to establish their nation and their dominion on the earth, what Daniel prophesied. So we're going to get a few of those things. Jump to verse 41.
Verse 41. Moreover, King Antiochus wrote to his whole kingdom that all should be one people, and everyone should leave his laws. So all the heathen agreed according to the commandment of the king.
So Antiochus was raised up after it said Alexander 12 years and died. Antiochus rose up as the king of the Greeks, and he started to make people conform to his way and what the Greeks wanted them to do. So this is the transition that Daniel was talking about, of how now the Israelites are going to be getting the sanctuary is going to be desolate. They're going to start bringing in abominations and all those type of things. This is the start of that happening now. Read on up.
Yea, many also of the Israelites consented to his religion, and sacrificed unto idols, and profaned the Sabbath.
You see, so now the Israelites, what Daniel prophesied and said was going to happen, a lot of Israelites went and started following what the Greeks were telling them to do and forcing them to do. Read on.
For the king had sent letters by messengers unto Jerusalem, that the cities of Judah, that they should follow the strange laws of the land.
Read on.
And forbid burnt offerings and sacrifice, and drink offerings in the temple, and that they should profane the Sabbaths and festival days.
Read on.
And pollute the sanctuary and holy people.
You see that? And pollute the sanctuary and holy people. This is the prophecy that Daniel was reading about. So this is what's happening. The Greeks come in, they establish their own laws and how they want to do things, even within our lands. This is what they're doing. But remember, we read in Daniel, it said they shall be hoping with a little help. So they're going to get a little help. Read on up.
Verse 47. Set up altars and groves and chapels of idols, and sacrifice swine's flesh and unclean beasts.
Read on.
That they should also leave their children uncircumcised, and make their souls abominable with all manner of uncleanness and profanation, to the end that they might forget the law and change all the ordinances.
Read on.
And whosoever would not do according to the commandment of the king, he said he should die.
You see that? So this is what was established. This is kind of like America and how they got established. If you didn't get down with America, if you don't get down with America, you're cast down. That's why when we stop celebrating Christmas, stop celebrating things here in America that they celebrate, they look at us awkward, funny, weird, because we're not doing what the commandments of the kings have established here in America. And they do not like that because we're going against how they're running their country. From there, keep reading, P.
No sweat. Verse 51. In the selfsame manner wrote he to his whole kingdom, and appointed overseers over all the people, commanding the cities of Judah to sacrifice city by city.
So this is what it was talking about. Even the Israelites, the sanctuary and everything was going to be defiled and desolate. But we got some people, like what Daniel said, that was going to stand strong for the Lord. Jump to chapter 2, P. Roz, and start at verse 1. First Maccabees, sorry.
Yes, sir. First Maccabees, chapter 2 and verse 1. In those days arose Mattathias, the son of John, the son of Simeon, a priest of the sons of Jarib, from Jerusalem, and dwelt in Modin.
So right now, in these days, when who we're reading about it, Antiochus, when he set up and he's setting up altars and getting the Israelites to fall for him, now it's talking about a specific Israelite, Mattathias, the son of John. It's getting into him now. Read on.
And he had 5 sons, Johanan called Cadiz, Simon called Thasi, Judas, who is called Maccabeus, Eleazar, called Aran, and Jonathan, whose surname was Aphis.
You see that?
Aphis.
All praises. So now these are the sons. So now we're seeing who Simon is. Simon is the son of Mattathias, a priest at that time. Okay. And I will jump from there, jump to verse 19, P.
Verse 19. Then Mattathias answered and spake with a loud voice, though all the nations that are under the king's dominion obey him, and fall away every one from the religion of their fathers, and give consent to his commandments.
Read on.
Yet will I and my sons and my brethren walk in the covenant of our fathers.
You see that? So this is the little help. This is the little ones that still stood strong from the prophecy of Daniel, was Mattathias and his sons. They said, no, we're not going to do what the Greeks want us to do. We're going to stick to the covenant of our fathers. Read on.
Verse 21. God forbid that we should forsake the law and the ordinances. We will not hearken to the king's words to go from our religion, either on the right hand or the left. Now, when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Jews in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment.
So here comes a Jew that is doing what King Antiochus is telling them to do, to sacrifice on the altar. Read on.
Verse 24. Which thing when Mattathias saw, he was inflamed with zeal, and his reins trembled, neither could he forbear to show his anger according to judgment. Wherefore he ran and slew him upon the altar.
That's how our forefathers got down. This is why it says praise famous men in their times, because there was men who stood strong for the Lord, who God put the spirit on them to where they wouldn't fold or fall for no man. They stood for the Most High God. So now we're seeing Mattathias, the father of Simon. So now we're going to jump P-Ross from there. We're going to be reading a little while because we're getting the history. Now we're going to jump straight over to First Maccabees 13, and you can start at 1.
No sweat. This is the book of First Maccabees, chapter 13 and verse 1. Now, when Simon heard that Tryphon had gathered together a great host to invade the land of Judea and destroy it, and saw that the people was in great trembling and fear, he went up to Jerusalem and gathered the people together, and gave them exhortation, saying, Ye yourselves know what great things I and my brethren and my father's house have done for the laws and the sanctuary, the battles also, the troubles which we have seen.
So Simon is I'm sorry, King.
Oh, go ahead.
And Simon is letting the people know. This goes back to what we read in Sirach 44 about the famous men and all the stuff that they do. He's letting the people know to exhort the people and lift them up. Simon, the son of Mattathias, he is doing this as we skip through dealing with these Greeks who are trying to invade the land of Judea. Read.
Verse 4. By reason whereof all my brethren are slain for Israel's sake, and I am left alone.
So we're to the point now where Simon's brothers have got put to death fighting for the sanctuary and fighting for, before this, the day of Hanukkah, or the Feast of Dedication, was established when they took the temple and took it back and rededicated it to the Father. So now, even in this time, now Simon's brothers are dead, and now Simon, the weight is on Simon's shoulders, and Simon now has to hold it down for the family, for Israel. Read on.
Verse 5. Now therefore, be it far from me that I should spare mine own life in any time of trouble, for I am no better than my brethren.
Read on.
Doubtless, I will avenge my nation and the sanctuary, and our wives and our children, for all the heathen are gathered to destroy us of very malice. Now,
Go ahead.
as soon as the people heard these words, their spirit revived, and they answered with a loud voice, saying, Thou shalt be our leader instead of Judas and Jonathan thy brother.
You see?
Fight,
Well, go ahead. Go ahead.
fight thou our battles, and whatsoever thou commandest us, that will we do. So then he gathered together all the men of war and made haste to finish the walls of Jerusalem, and he fortified it round about. Also, he set Jonathan, the son of Absalom, and with him a great power to Jah, who casting out them that were therein remained there in it. So Tryphon removed from Ptolemais with a great power to invade the land of Judea, and Jonathan was with him in ward. But Simon pitched his tents at Adida over against the plain. Now when Tryphon knew that Simon was risen up instead of his brother Jonathan, and meant to join battle with him, he sent messengers unto him, saying, Whereas we have Jonathan thy brother in hold, it is for money that he is owing unto us, unto the king's treasure, concerning the business that was committed unto him.
So his brother Jonathan wasn't completely, his brother Jonathan wasn't put to death yet. His brother Jonathan was, they played him to the left, and and Tryphon and them played him and made him think that they were coming to make an agreement and a pact together, and instead they took Jonathan and kept him as captive, so that they can do exactly what they wanted to do with the people of Israel, because Jonathan was the head over the Israelites at that time. He was the leader. He was the man. Okay, read on, Pete. And then Pete, also, if you got anything to add, you feel free.
No sweat, no sweat. Verse 16. Wherefore now send 100 talents of silver and 2 of his sons for hostages, that when he is at liberty, he may not revolt from us, and we will let him go. Hereupon Simon, albeit he perceived that they spake deceitfully unto him, yet sent he the money and the children, lest peradventure he should procure to himself great hatred of the people.
So this is what, so Simon knew that they were on some crafty stuff, send the money and the children and all that, but Simon did it anyway, because he didn't want the people, he didn't want to specifically be the reason why his brother got put to death.
Right, it's dealing wisely.
Dealing wisely.
Right.
Read on.
Verse 18, who might have said, because I sent him not the money and the children, therefore is Jonathan dead.
There's your answer. Read on.
So he sent them the children and the 100 talents. Howbeit, Tryphon dissembled, neither would he let Jonathan go.
So he sent them the stuff, and Tryphon still didn't let his brother Jonathan go. Read on.
And after this came Tryphon to invade the land and destroy it, going round about by the way that leadeth unto Adora. But Simon had his host marched against him in every place wheresoever he went. Now they that were in the town sent messengers unto Tryphon, to the end that he should hasten his coming unto them by the wilderness, and send them victuals.
Read on.
Wherefore Tryphon made ready all his horsemen to come that night, but there fell a very great snow, by reason whereof he came not. So he departed and came into the country of Galaad.
So Tryphon tried to come and invade him, but the Most High allowed for the snow to snow him in. So he ruined their plans. So they had to go ahead and go over here and hold their peace for a second. Okay.
Playing good defense.
Right.
Verse 23. And when he came near to Bascama, he slew Jonathan, who was buried there.
So, but when he came over to Bascama, he killed Jonathan. He killed Simon's brother. He killed Mattathias's son, a man of Pete, I'm tripping right now. I wanted to show where it says uh, Jonathan shall be the man of war, and then Simon should be the smart one.
Ooh,
We're it's
you know what? I mean, I know that's
and we might
chapter.
have
Yeah,
just went to where I was just at, but I mean I just wanted to just show that real quick. But let me see.
yeah, where it kind of you talking about the one where it lays out their like their
Yeah,
talents.
like let him be the man of war, and then
Yeah, it's hold on, I'm spacing on that one because yeah, no, I remember it's an excellent verse too.
mhm.
Uh,
Where we at? Where we at? Where we at? It's right here. It's somewhere right here in the
I know
same.
it's in Maccabees.
Okay.
First one.
Uh,
You find it?
well, no, that's just saying how Jonathan rose up in the stead after his pops died.
Right.
But yeah, don't we'll get to that. Don't worry about
Okay.
it, Pete.
Yeah, no sweat, no sweat, no sweat. Okay. You ready?
Yes, sir. We can go back to
Right. Verse 24. Afterward, Tryphon returned and went into his own land. Then sent Simon and took the bones of Jonathan his brother and buried them in Modin, the city of his fathers. And all Israel made great lamentation for him and bewailed him many days. Simon also built a monument upon the sepulchre of his father and his brethren, and raised it aloft to the sight, with hewn stone behind it and before. Moreover, he set up 7 pyramids, one against another, for his father and his mother and his 4 brethren. And in these he made cunning devices, about the which he set great pillars, and upon the pillars he made all their armor for a perpetual memory, and by the armor ships carved, that they might be seen of all that sail on the sea.
You see this? So Simon, he was lifting up the famous men, his father, his mother, and his brethren. He was lifting them up, a righteous family. Okay, and letting it be known, and all Israel lamented, cried, and was distressed based upon losing these mighty men. Read on.
This is the sepulchre which he made at Modin, and it standeth yet unto this day. Now, Tryphon dealt deceitfully with the young king Antiochus and slew him. And he reigned in his stead and crowned himself king of Asia, and brought a great calamity upon the land. Then Simon built up the strongholds in Judea and fenced them about with high towers, and great walls, and great gates and bars, and laid up victuals therein.
So you had these Greeks. This Greek slayed another Greek because he wanted rulership. That's what he did. So that's what Tryphon did. He slayed him and said, "You know what? I'm gonna raise up in your stead." Okay.
Right.
And so Simon built up. He fortified the area, to protect where they were located from the heathen.
Right.
Read on.
Verse 34. Moreover, Simon chose men and sent to King Demetrius, to the end he should give the land and immunity, because all that Tryphon did was to spoil.
Read on.
Unto whom King Demetrius answered and wrote after this manner. King Demetrius unto Simon the high priest and friend of kings, as also unto the elders and nation of the Jews, sendeth greeting. The golden crown and scarlet robe which ye sent unto us, we have received, and we are ready to make a steadfast peace with you. Yea, and to write unto our officers to confirm the immunities which we have granted. And whatsoever covenants we have made with you shall stand, and the strongholds which ye have builded shall be your own.
So this is King Demetrius of a heathen that they're dealing with, though, and he's telling him that we will allow for what you set up, Simon, to stay that way. We'll let it be set up that way. We'll that's okay. That's okay.
Right.
Read on.
Verse 39. As for any oversight or fault committed unto this day, we forgive it, and the crown tax which ye owe us, if there were any other tribute paid in Jerusalem, it shall no more be paid.
So he's saying whatever the Jews owed us for whatever, because after they became in rulership, he's saying whatever you guys owed us, don't worry, it's all good. You don't gotta pay it. It's all good. It's paid in full. Read them.
Verse 40. And look who are meet among you to be in your court. Let them be enrolled, and let there be peace betwixt us. Thus the yoke of the heathen was taken away from Israel in the 170th year.
So Simon was using wisdom. He said, let me holler at this other king and do some he became like an ally for Simon. Why Tryphon was over here tearing stuff up, killed one of his own people to be in rulership and all that. Simon said, let me reach over to King Demetrius and let me establish something between us. That's what you see what's going on.
Right. Verse 42. Then the people of Israel began to write in their instruments and contracts in the first year of Simon the high priest, the governor and leader of the Jews.
So Simon was the governor and the leader of the Jews, especially after his father being the high priest passed and all his brothers as well.
Right. In those days, Simon camped against Gaza and besieged it round about, and made also an engine of war, and set it by the city, and battered a certain tower, and took it.
So Simon was taking back what was rightfully ours. Read on.
And they that were in the engine leapt into the city, whereupon there was a great uproar in the city, insomuch as the people of the city rent their clothes and climbed upon the walls with their wives and children, and cried with a loud voice, beseeching Simon to grant them peace.
So Simon was tearing their ass up, excuse my language. And so they wanted peace. They said, no, Simon, for what you're doing, hey, we just want peace between you. We don't want no smoke. We don't want the smoke at all.
We don't want this problem. Verse 46. And they said, deal not with us according to our wickedness, but according to thy mercy. So Simon was appeased towards them, and fought no more against them, but put them out of the city, and cleansed the houses wherein the idols were, and so entered into it with songs and thanksgiving.
That's what we read in Sirach 44. So he in Daniel's 11. And so Simon came and now cleansed the city and did all these things to get it back right from what the heathen had done. This is all very important to why we celebrate the day of Simon and remember what our forefathers was doing. Right. Read on.
Verse 48. Yea, he put all the uncleanness out of it, and placed such men there as would keep the law, and made it stronger than it was before, and built therein a dwelling place for himself. They also of the tower in Jerusalem were kept so strait that they could neither come forth nor go into the country, nor buy nor sell. Wherefore they were in great distress for want of victuals, and a great number of them perished through famine.
Read on.
Then cried they to Simon, beseeching him to be at one with them, which thing he granted them. And when he had put them out from thence, he cleansed the tower from pollutions.
Read on.
And entered into it the 23rd day of the second month in the
entered into it in the 23rd day of the second month. That's the month that we're in right now, according to the Bible, according to God's calendar. We're in the second month. Read on.
The month of Ziph.
The month of Ziph. Read on.
In the 171 year, with thanksgiving and branches of palm trees, and with harps and cymbals, and with viols and hymns and songs, because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel.
Because there was destroyed a great enemy out of Israel. Read on, P.
He ordained also that that day should be kept every year with gladness.
He ordained that day, which is the day of Simon, which is this month, the 27th at evening to the 28th at even, is the day of Simon right here in 2023. Okay, I know it's what we're reading now. A lot of times our brothers and sisters think that was old and back then, but no, it's really happening now, and we're celebrating this now. Read on, King.
Moreover, the hill of the temple that was by the tower he made stronger than it was, and there he dwelt himself with his company. And when Simon saw that John his son was a valiant man, He made him captain of all the hosts and dwelt in Gazara.
And that's John Hyrcanus. That's his son. So now we're going to continue to read on Pete 14. And
Yes, sir.
so that right there in verse 52, brothers and sisters, is where the day of Simon was established. He ordained also that the day should be kept every year with gladness. That is the day of Simon. That's what we celebrated. What we've read about the heathen coming in, Simon and family dying, now standing strong for the Lord, removing the heathen out, cleaning it back up. That is why we celebrate the day of Simon, because he was a valiant man and stood strong for the Most High God. Chapter 14, verse 1, P.
Chapter 14, verse 1. Now in the 163 year, King Demetrius gathered his forces together and went into Media to get him help to fight against Tryphon. But when Arsaces, the king of Persia and Media, heard that Demetrius was entered within his borders, he sent one of his princes to take him alive.
Read on.
Who went and smote the host of Demetrius and took him and brought him to Arsaces, by whom he was put in ward. And for the land of Judea that was quiet all the days of Simon.
And for the land of what? Was what?
And for the land of Judea that was quiet all the days of Simon.
Okay, P, stand right there. Keep your spot, and go back to Sirach 44 real quick.
Oh, sure.
And it said it was quiet. Sirach 44 and verse verse 6.
Verse 6. Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations.
That's what was happening now. This famous man that we're praising had them living peaceably in their habitations. Back to chapter 14 and where you were.
Chapter 14 and verse 4. As for the land of Judea that was quiet all the days of Simon, for he sought the good of his nation in such wise as that evermore his authority and honor pleased them well.
You see that? So this is an honorable man, a famous man. This is why we keep the day of Simon in remembrance of our forefathers doing great works. Read on, King.
Verse 5. And as he was honorable in all his acts, so in this that he took Joppa for an haven and made an entrance to the isles of the sea, and enlarged the boundaries of his nation, and recovered the country.
Read on.
And gathered together a great number of captives, and had the domination of Gazara and Bethshura, and the tower out of the which he took all uncleanness. Neither was there any that resisted him.
Mighty man, Simon. Read on, King.
Then did they till the ground in peace, and the earth gave her increase, and the trees of the field their fruit. The ancient men sate all in the streets, communing together of good things, and the young men put on glorious and warlike apparel.
Read. This is all things that are starting to happen now after Simon put in much work for the Most High. Read on.
Verse 10. He provided victuals for the cities and set them in all manner of munition, so that his honorable name was renowned unto the end of the world.
And that's why we praise famous men. That's why we honor and acknowledge our forefathers that was really about the Lord's work. Read on.
Verse 11. He made peace in the land, and Israel rejoiced with great joy.
Read on.
For every man sat under his vine and his fig tree, and there was none to fray them. Neither was there any left in the land to fight against them. Yea, the kings themselves were overthrown in those days.
You see that? Woo! It's a beautiful thing to celebrate the day of Simon in honor of our forefathers. And our forefather specifically, who was specifically handling business after his father and mighty brothers got put to death. He was holding it down. Valiant man of the Lord.
That's
Read on, King.
Verse 14. Moreover, he strengthened all those of his people that were brought low. The law he searched out, and every contemner of the law and wicked person he took away.
He removed them. You got to be about the Lord's work, got to be about living righteously. Read on.
Verse 15. He beautified the sanctuary and multiplied the vessels of the temple. Now, when it was heard at Rome and as far as Sparta that Jonathan was dead, they were very sorry.
Read
But
on.
as soon as they heard that his brother Simon was made high priest in his stead and ruled the country and the cities therein, they wrote unto him in tables of brass to renew the friendship and league which they had with Judas and Jonathan his brethren,
Read on.
which writings were read before the congregation at Jerusalem. And this is the copy of the letters that the Lacedaemonians sent. The rulers of the Lacedaemonians, with the city unto Simon the high priest and the elders and priests and residue of the people of the Jews, our brethren, sending greeting.
The Lacedaemonians were our people scattered throughout parts of the world. The Lacedaemonians were scattered Israelites. Read on.
Right. The ambassadors that were sent unto our people certified us of your glory and honor, wherefore we were glad of their coming, and did register the things that they spake in the council of the people in this manner. Numenius, son of Antiochus, and Antipater, son of Jason, the Jews' ambassadors, came unto us to renew the friendship they had with us.
Read on.
And it pleased the people to entertain the men honorably, and to put the copy of their embassage in public records, to the end the people of the Lacedaemonians might have a memorial thereof. Furthermore, we have written a copy thereof unto Simon the high priest. After this, Simon sent Numenius to Rome with a great shield of gold of 1,000 pound weight to confirm the league with them.
Read on.
Whereof, when the people heard, they said, what thanks shall we give to Simon and his sons?
You see that? So when the people heard this and all the stuff that Simon was doing, they said, what thanks can we give to Simon and his brothers? How can we thank him for this, for all that he has done? The day of Simon, what we remember and what we keep. How can we thank him? Read on.
Verse 26. For he and his brethren in the house of his father have established Israel, and chased away the fight their enemies from them, and confirmed their liberty. So then they wrote it in tables of brass, which they set upon pillars in Mount Zion. And this is the copy of the writing. The 18th day of the month, Elul, in the 163 year, being the 3rd year of Simon the high priest.
Read.
At Saramel, in the great congregation of the priests, the people and rulers of the nation and elders of the country, were these things notified unto us.
Read on.
For so much as oftentimes there have been wars in the country, wherein for the maintenance of their sanctuary and the law, Simon, the son of Mattathias of the posterity of Jerib, together with his brethren, put themselves in jeopardy, and resisting the enemies of their nation, did their nation great honor.
Great honor. This everything we're reading is about Simon and why we keep that day. Simon was a mighty man to be honored. To be honored. Read on.
For after that Jonathan, having gathered his nation together and been their high priest, was added to his people.
Read.
Their enemies proposed to invade their country, that they might destroy it and lay hands on the sanctuary.
Read on.
At which time Simon rose up and fought for his nation, and spent much of his own substance, and armed the valiant men of his nation, and gave them wages, and fortified the cities of Judea together with Bethshura, that lieth upon the borders of Judea, where the armor of the enemies had been before, but he set a garrison of Jews there.
Read on.
Moreover, he fortified Joppe, which lieth upon the sea, and Gazara, that bordereth upon Azotus, where the enemies had dwelt before, but he placed Jews there, and furnished them with all things convenient for the reparation thereof.
I'm telling y'all, Simon was a bad man. Man, he was a bad man. He said, I'm moving all these heathens up out of here, and I'm gonna put my people back here in the land where they need to be. and then I'm gonna fortify it. So we're gonna set a boundary upon it, and have a garrison so that we can be protected. So that when they come towards us, we got them all set up.
Right.
Read on, kid.
Verse 35. The people therefore, seeing the acts of Simon, and unto what glory he thought to bring his nation, made him their governor and chief priest, because he had done all these things, and for the justice and faith which he kept to his nation, and for that he sought by all means to exalt his people.
That's what it was all about for Simon, to exalt his people. That's what Christ is coming back to do, to exalt and raise up Israel. That's exactly what all our forefathers and righteous men that were renowned, that's what it was all about, was to bring their nation up. And Simon was doing that. Read on, Kate.
For in his time things prospered in his hands, so that the heathen were taken out of their country, and they also that were in the city of David in Jerusalem, who had made themselves a tower, out of which they issued and polluted all about the sanctuary, and did much hurt in the holy place.
Read on.
But he placed Jews therein, and fortified it for the safety of the country and the city, and raised up the walls of Jerusalem. King Demetrius also confirmed him in the high priesthood according to those things, and made him one of his friends, and honored him with great honor. For he had heard say that the Romans had called the Jews their friends and confederates and brethren, and they had entertained the ambassadors of Simon honorably.
Read on.
That the Jews and priests were well pleased that Simon should be their governor and high priest forever, until there should forever until there should arise a faithful prophet.
Until there should arise a faithful prophet. And that's going into Christ. But we ain't gonna get too deep on that. But he was the whole,
another rabbit hole.
Right. He was that cold. And that's why we keep the day of Simon. He was a mighty man, and all these people, he was renowned, and the people loved him for what he did for his people and for the nation. Right. Read on.
Verse 42. Moreover, that he should be their captain, and should take charge of the sanctuary, to set them over their works, and over the country, and over the armor, and over the fortresses. That I say, he should take charge of the sanctuary. Besides this, that he should be obeyed of every man, and that all the writings in the country should be made in his name, and that he should be clothed in purple and wear gold.
You see that? So when it said that he ordained that we keep this day with joyfulness and gladness, the day of Simon, that's how they looked at him. He was a prophet. He was a man of God. So when he said it, they said, we do whatever Simon says to do. That's Simon says, hey, you better stop it. Because
Simon said,
this is where it came from.
That's where that game came from. Simon said, we'll do it.
Simon said, we'll do it.
Right.
Read on. 44.
Verse 44. Also, that it should be lawful for none of the people or priests to break any of these things, or to gainsay his words, or to gather an assembly in the country without him, or to be clothed in purple, or wear a buckle of gold. And whosoever should do otherwise, or break any of these things, he should be punished. Thus it liked all the people to deal with Simon, and to do as hath been said. Then Simon accepted hereof, and was well pleased to be high priest, and captain, and governor of the Jews and priests, and to defend them all. So they commanded that this writing should be put in tables of brass, and that they should be set up within the compass of the sanctuary in a conspicuous place.
Read on.
Also, then the copies thereof should be laid up in the treasury, to the end that Simon and his sons might have them.
You see that? So that's how serious and severe it was for all the stuff that Simon was doing. So that's exactly the reason why we keep the day of Simon, is because Simon was a mighty man of the Most High God. P. Ross.
Yes, sir.
He ordained one day greater than another. He esteemed one day greater than another.
That's Colossians, isn't it?
No, I want the one where it says that let me see, I thought it was in Sirach 43, but that's the moon with the ornaments of light and the camera.
I thought that was Paul's. What are you talking? That's not the one you're talking about, where a man's esteem a day above another.
No, because there's just ordinary days. Then there's high holy days.
Okay. I think I know.
It's in,
Yeah.
it's in Sirach somewhere.
Right.
Shoot.
Hold on. Let's get it.
It just popped in my mind. It popped in my mind. So now it wasn't something I was thinking about reading, but I just thought about it.
No, yeah, it popped in your head. Well, I mean, while you're searching for that, I was just gonna comment. I mean, this is
No, please do.
yeah,
Please
like
do.
I mean, the level of honor that this man got, and again, it wasn't just because it was out of respect to persons. He did all these great things for Israel, and so he earned that respect. So much so that they made brass tables that told his story. His history is forever. That's what do they say that when you do that, you immortalize somebody when you write down their story. So when we these artifacts that have stories written on walls and in brass and on steels and on on these stone walls that are supposed to last forever, that's basically, what do they say, your story is etched in stone.
The stone.
Even the Most High he says with the diamond pen. These are things that are very, very apparent, and it just goes to it just goes to show like the level of commitment this man had for his people, and he earned that level of praise and that level of honor where nobody went against what he said. He walked around dressed in gold. I'm sure that's IUIC's favorite verse, but he's dressed in a royal fashion at all times.
Sirach 33:7.
33.
Yeah. I got it, kid.
No sweat.
Thank you, though. Yes, sir. Sirach 33. You can start at 7.
The book of Sirach. Mute up, Enoch. There we go. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 33 and verse 7. Why doth one day excel another, when as all the light of every day in the year is of the sun?
Because every day the sun rises, goes down. Say every year, there's no difference in how a day works. But so why does one day excel another day? Read on.
Verse 8. By the knowledge of the Lord they were distinguished, and he altered seasons and feasts.
So by the knowledge of the Lord, they were distinguished. God set these days, or he put it on the spirit of Simon to be and do what he did to establish that day. That's why the day of Simon is something that's set apart from the other days. Read on.
Verse 9. Some of them hath he made high days, and hallowed them, and some of them hath he made ordinary days.
And some of these days he has made high days and ordinary days. So like a Passover is a high day. So you wouldn't buy and sell at the opening of the Passover or the closing of the Passover. Day of Simon, you can buy and sell, but it's still a holy day, not a high day. Okay? Because a lot of the times our brothers and sisters, we like to say, well, that feast day is not in Leviticus 23.
Right.
We like to say that it's and what we were reading about Simon and his brothers and dedicating the temple and all that back to the Most High. Even Christ, let me get that real quick at John chapter 10 and 22, Pete, real quick.
No sweat.
John 10 and 22, because I want to show that Christ kept a feast day that was not in Leviticus 23.
This is the book of John, chapter 10 and verse 22. And it was at Jerusalem, the feast of dedication, and it was winter.
Read on.
And Jesus walked in the temple in Solomon's porch.
So that's what Jesus was there to come keep the feast of dedication. So when you read about the history of the Maccabees, give me First Maccabees 4 and 59 real quick.
Sweat.
First Maccabees 4 and 59.
The book of First Maccabees, chapter 4 and verse 59. Moreover, Judas and his brethren, with the whole congregation of Israel, ordained that the days of the dedication of the altar should be kept in their season from year to year by the space of 8 days, from the 25th day of the month Caslu, with mirth and gladness.
So that's the Feast of Dedication. That's what Christ was going into the temple to celebrate. What was written here in the Apocrypha, what was written by our forefathers and by what was established, that God used Mattathias and his sons to establish. That's Christ kept that, even though that wasn't in the Leviticus 23 list of all the laws to be kept. And the last one I got, P, is give me first Peter chapter 1 and verse 10.
1 Peter.
Because these were prophets of the Most High God.
The book of 1 Peter chapter 1 and verse 10. Of which salvation the prophets have inquired and searched diligently, who prophesied of the grace that should come unto you.
Read.
Searching what manner of time the Spirit of Christ which was in them.
The spirit of what?
The Spirit of Christ which was in them did signify.
Which was in who?
Which was in them.
In them did signify the prophets aforetime, Judas Maccabeus, Simon, all these people, the Spirit of Christ was in them and signified it aforetime. So when they spoke and when they dealt, they had the Spirit of the Most High God dwelling on them and his Son. Okay? So you can finish that out in Peter. When it testified.
Yeah, when it testified beforehand the sufferings of Christ and the glory that should follow.
And it testified of Christ and the glory that should follow. And that goes back to what we read in Maccabees when it said, and a prophet shall come after Simon. They'll want him to reign forever until a prophet comes again. And that would have been
prophet. Yeah.
There you go. That perfect prophet, which was Christ. So brothers and sisters, that is why we celebrate the Day of Simon. That is the history of the Day of Simon. It ain't too deep. It ain't nothing to, we got to go here, got to go there to get the understanding. We read the history, the account for everything. The things that were written aforetime were written for our learning. Through patient and comfort of the scriptures, we might have hope.
Right.
P, do you have anything to add to that, brother?
I mean, the Maccabees, the Hasmonean dynasty and the Maccabean accounts are great exhortation, because again, it's not a high holy day. But it's the reason why we ordain these days of remembrance, is to look back and see the greatness, like you were saying. The whole point is to look back and see the greatness of our fathers, not necessarily to make it any higher than it is, but just to observe and recollect. They lived that way. This was how they lived. They didn't take the enemies lightly. They did what needed to be done, and they carried it out, and it was great in Israel because they inspired many. Mattathias gathered the people together, gave them a speech. Judas did the same thing. Simon did the same thing. They roused the people up and got that spirit, up and moving. So this is, that alone is powerful, but to also continue after rousing them up, he was the main one, like he said, fortifying Israel, putting things in place, making things happen so that Israel was now great again. And that's inspirational to us. In the sense that with the resources that we have and the things that we've been given and blessed with, we're no different, right? He said, I'm no different from my brethren. We're no different from our brethren. We should be putting together strategies to do the same thing.
Yes, sir. And Pete, to end it out, let's go back to Sirach 44 and 1. And we're going to read the same thing we just read, and so that we can be encouraged of why we do the Day of Simon. One more time, 44 and 1.
No sweat. This is the book of Sirach, chapter 44 and verse 1. Let us now praise famous men and our fathers that begat us.
Didn't it say that his name, P. Roz, didn't it say that Simon's name was throughout the whole world?
It's famous. Absolutely.
He was famous,
absolutely.
man.
Everybody was mentioning that. That brother Simon, that's a cold brother. That's men of renown, men of great reputation.
Yes, sir. Read on, Key.
Verse 2, the Lord hath wrought great glory by them through his great power from the beginning.
Read on.
such as did bear rule in their kingdoms, men renowned for their power, giving counsel by their understanding and declaring prophecies,
Read on.
leaders of the people by their counsels, and by their knowledge of learning, meet for the people, wise and eloquent in their instructions,
Read on.
such as found out musical tunes and rejected verses in writing. Rich men furnished with ability, living peaceably in their habitations.
Read on.
All these were honored in their generations and were the glory of their times.
Read
There
on.
be of them that have left a name behind them, that their praises might be reported.
There you go. And that's what we're doing. We're reporting the praises of our forefather, Simon. I was about to say Simeon, Judas
Right.
Maccabee. Because they were
I mean,
almighty men. They were almighty men.
Transliteration.
Right.
Right. I'm
Simeon,
with you though.
Simon.
Right.
But no,
Simon,
but yes.
mighty man,
So,
Simon.
yes, sir.
Yes,
So
sir.
that's coming up, brothers and sisters. Once again, May 27th at evening to May 28th at even, sundown to sundown. That will be the day of Simon. So we encourage you, brothers and sisters, enjoy that day. Get back into these scriptures. Read what we read. Read the history, like the brother Faraz brought out a minute ago. That's very, very encouraging. Read the history of the Maccabees. Get some zeal, like our forefathers did, to be encouraged to serve the Lord and to continue to fight this fight.
That Mattathias speech fires me up.
Right.
I read that thing. I'm like, yeah.
Right.
Charge reading that thing. Man.
Ready to go to
Okay,
camp.
yeah, like, but I mean, I think about it all the time. This is why our music, it hits different, because those words are powerful. They speak to your soul.
Right.
You know?
Right.
I could only imagine hearing a speech from these brothers. Like, that zeal just, boils up in you.
You'll be like Mattathias. You'll see him suffer and swine. You're gonna be at the Sunday
And
church
just
with a sword out.
Be like Peter and just cut somebody's ear off for no reason. Hey man, back up.
Right. That's what it does when you read the Word of God. It gives you, it uplifts the spirit. It gives you that zeal that you have to continue to fight the good fight.
That's right.
That's what it's all about, brothers and sisters. So, hey, if you don't got nothing else to say, Pete.